You probably don't know, but I have a game with one of my friends. He lives in Osijek in Croatia, and once I told him that Hungary is the most depressive country in the world, and he said, no, Croatia is the most depressive country, and we dispute for hours. So how about your country, Bosnia? Is it a bit different?
I would say that Bosnia suffers a lot with the after-war situation. The war is more than 20 years over, but since we kind of never finished a real political constitution, let's say this way, we are kind of a monster state within not only Europe but worldwide. And beside the war traumas, many dead and many damaged and many wounded people, we have on a daily basis in a country very bad political situation, which maybe caused depression, anxiety, but also, well, many bad long-term damages on the population, Bosnian population.
We are in Krak, actually. I didn't mention that before. The Krak is an art center in Bihac, and well, the environment is amazing. I mean, there are many forests, many nice valleys. On the other hand, the roads are very small, and it took, I don't know, like 2 hours for the last 100 kilometers for me to come. But anyway, what do you think? Is Bihac is in a good position for creating art because it's separated and you can dive into what are you doing in art, or is it not the good place because you cannot connect with others? You cannot go to, I don't know, London or Paris.
Well, depends from which perspective the answer is initiated and from which perspective someone who answers articulates his statement. I would say that this is okay how it is. I was living in many different cities worldwide. I just came from the United States when I spent a year. I was living in Belgium, Germany, Italy. I decided to stay here. I love it. This is a place where I was born, where I was raised, where I have my child memories. And I mean, this doesn't mean anything special, but from the other side, it's a very special place. And you are right. It's not a central city in Bosnia, but it's kind of intriguing and interesting to build up some art, contemporary culture strategies. I mean, it's always kind of predictable to do something in the big cities, but if you have something like in Bihac, then there is a lot of challenges, then there are very interesting flows, scenarios, and it's quite intriguing and it's quite challenging and interesting. So I really love the experience from the last approximately 2 years when we start thinking about Krak and the period when we opened it, and the last more than a year when we had good program here, real program. So it's amazing. I wouldn't change for right now anything else.
That's good. Maybe this is a place where you can well, kind of do whatever you like, because no one just say that, okay, but hey, what are you doing? You need to show some Picasso. Is it the case that you can do whatever program you are?
This question is also having few possible answers. I mean, from one position, when you do progressive and contemporary stuff and content in a small towns like Bihac, then of course there are some challenges related to how those things gonna be accepted, and how provocation and communication with audience works. In a smaller environment, it's always kind of tricky, and response can be sometimes very stressful. But we don't have this experience, fortunately. So this is kind of test also for a local community. It seems to be very open. I mean, we have here in Krak very various audience from very local community here in a neighborhood. which just heard about us and are coming and participating and trying to support. They try, when they get opportunity, they try to be involved, to contribute. You just have to make a framework for them, to make a platform, to kind of draft any guidelines and possible scenarios, and the things are amazing. So we are at the moment right now preparing one very demanding artistic object which should be put on the top of the neighboring building here in the neighborhood. And we need a lot of administration, but first of all we need signatures from the council, from the people who live in the building. And we were so afraid that this is going to be hard and we will never get, but now they are more involved and more motivated to get this sculpture on the top of their roof of the building than we are.
While you're mentioning that, I just realized that in Vienna there is, the Brot Fabric, which is a, I don't know if you have been there, but this is an old place of factory, and it was kind of occupied by galleries. And now it's super expensive.
Krak is acronym as a workers club of Combitex. So the place where we are right now, that was a former club of the workers of the former textile company. And we are just a part of the big area which was inherited by Combitex. So there are a lot of things going on in this not anymore abandoned area. It was in the last 10 years it was left over, abandoned, but many things changed. So I don't know if we can follow the same pattern as you just mentioned in big European cities regarding of transformation of certain spaces, industrial spaces, abandoned space. I'm not quite sure. We are very eager to follow this, to test this, to see what can happen, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And in our program, we really pay attention to the heritage of that textile company. So our first exhibition was actually related to, it was a documentary show about some artifacts that we found here that were almost destroyed and left over. So we kind of preserved them, kept them, transformed them. We found some videotapes, 8mm videotapes. We digitalized everything. So we've done a lot of things at the beginning related to this heritage of the Combitex. And moreover, part of our, let's say, conceptual pillar is urbanism and environmental organization as well. So the second show that we had at the beginning of our existence last year was an exhibition that dealt with urban architecture, design and art in a local community. And we are just about to publish the huge catalog about this project. And in mid-May we are preparing to have another show which will have in focus architecture and urbanism, and we will promote that publication. So we try to not only focus, let's say conventionally just on visual arts, but to involve a local community to tackle the problems. What are the problems? What are the issues that are surrounding us? How can we as a creative community, some of us are scholars, practitioners, artists, how we all can participate in proactive way, how can we contribute, how can we design, redesign, how can we collaborate between us and between the community. So there are many things to be done here, and I think that we are at the moment in very good position to start and continue this way.
Let's talk a little about this exhibition, because I'm not only here because of Bihac, but it's also a nice experience because I never been before in Bosnia. Well, this is my shame actually, but I'm here because of Pierre Courtin, because he has a big collection of art. He was a gallerist in Sarajevo and just left the country in the pandemic. But But actually you are maybe the second or the third place where this collection is exhibited.
Third one.
Third one. But why was that important to show that collection?
Pierre Courtin is interesting from several perspectives. He spent approximately 14 years in Bosnia from 2004 to 2018, and for a whole time of his stay and his residency in Sarajevo, he was a cultural manager, he was a curator, he was a gallery owner and practitioner who was dealing with artists, with exhibitions, with communication, with curatorial strategies, and many things which are related to contemporary art. So his presence during that period in Sarajevo is very important, and the influence and contribution of his is immense. He is in charge, being a trigger for other generations and other individuals or groups to kind of start doing similar projects, which are in the main getting a physical space and inhabiting this space or curating this space. So he was a leader in that sense. In the term, he was independent, so there are many state-funded cultural institutions in the country, and he was one of the rare which is independent, who was able to maintain and curate own program and articulate own cultural and artistic strategy. On the second, his importance is collection that he owns. The number, I'm not aware of the number of the pieces he's owning, but this is probably more than 1,000 pieces. But here, now in Krak, in Bihac, we are showing just one part of that collection. I was interested to show this exhibition here because this is the collection that covers that period. This collection is an excellent view, it's an excellent image of artistic production in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's very well documented and very well preserved artistic oeuvre of various artists. So we are very lucky and we are very happy in Bihac that we could get Pierre Courtin personally here for this exhibition and to get his collection, to show it to the local audience and to kind of mark our program with that kind of content.
When I look around here, I see many different styles and works in very wide connections and background. And probably in Paris or in New York, they say that oh, this is too wide perspective. But I think maybe this was one of the goals here, right? To show that how wide could be the Bosnian art life here. And
Bosnia is a smaller country than other countries in neighboring countries like Croatia, Slovenia and Serbia. And if you compare dynamics, cultural dynamics and social dynamics of the country, even during the socialist Yugoslav time, there were some differences between those, let's say, republics within former Yugoslavia. Bosnia was kind of lately emancipated with other republics, and the peak of that emancipation was during late 70s and early 80s when Sarajevo hosted Winter Olympic Games. That was a kind of peak of cultural achievement, collective achievement, and some willingness to work hard and produce real content on an international level. When Yugoslavia broke apart, Bosnia suffered a lot, and unfortunately our neighbors exposed violence against Bosnia in many different ways, and we still kind of suffer. The political discourse is still going on, unfortunately. So In comparison to Croatia, Bihac is very close. It's just on the border to Croatia. People in Bihac probably compare themselves, let's say this way, more with Croatia. They have very good system of artistic and institutional network within the country, and are good connected, and there are a lot of independent organizations, a lot of practitioners in the field of art in various cities, and they collaborate, and then you can really observe the dynamics of that collaboration. There is something kind of very tangible and visible product of those endeavors. Bosnia traditionally didn't have those, let's say, institutional and non-institutional supports, but after the war, those things radically changed, and we had several very important initiatives. Maybe it's worth to mention here Sarajevo Center for Contemporary Art, which was immediately funded after the war. Then, of course, Pierre Courtin's initiatives that has been installed from the 2004 on. There are many other also international practitioners who arrived to Sarajevo in the last 10 years and found positive environment. I would mention here some of them, like Kuma International, which is run by Italian art historian Claudia Zini, and SCLOP Association, run by Swiss-based art historian Sandra Bradvić. Now, of course, we lost Pierre Courtin due to his absence in the last few years, but Bosnia shouldn't compare itself with anyone. We are very authentic.
Do you know who will be the next Pierre Courtin, maybe?
Well, we have some very young initiatives right now in Bosnia. For example, there is a very young gallery initiative called Manifesto, run by a new generation of artists and art historians, architects and designers. They are just opened a few weeks ago, and they are just launching their philosophy and some statements. I would definitely keep an eye on them. Me personally, I'm very interested in independent initiatives and small collectives and groups which try to gather and articulate kind of practice. I see that almost as a political act, as an act of claiming the space, claiming the time, claiming attention and acting, and I think this is very important. I think this is actually very important when citizens, when practitioners, when activists claim certain amount of common values and take them, reshape them, and kind of give them back to and local community. I think this is amazing. So I would like to mention them.
Are you interested in special genre or special way of an artist process or a special time, or you just look at the artworks and saying that, well, I need that?
Well, if you observe our current program that's going on, the projects that we are running right now, it's very diverse. And we like to believe this is a proper approach to the matter. So we don't want only exclusively to run visual art space. Okay, we do that, and that's as well important, and we will continue. And me as an art historian and curator, I will definitely pay an attention. But we want to tackle certain problems in a society. For example, the project Creative Ecologies that we are having right now gathered 5 internationally acclaimed artists, invites them here to Bihac, and having environmental issues and challenges of our time globally, not locally, globally, having all that in mind, we invited them to build a permanent artistic sculptures in the public space. And this is very, very demanding project that needs time, that needs a lot of administration, because who owns the public space, and the rights of the public space are mainly owned by the government, and you have as an NGO, as an organization, you have to claim that and to explain. And it's interesting. It shows the dynamic of possible collaboration. It shows on the other side tackles the problems of environment and ecology. This is the project is about that, actually, thematically and conceptually. And this is, for example, one project that takes a lot of time, but we are also very active in another sides. For example, in this year we expect to publish 3 very demanding books, publications. One is documenting a show from the last year. Now we have the texts and a whole documentation, and it needs the whole reduction to design the book. So there are many other projects that are about to happen very soon, and we are lucky that we are not state-owned institutions, so we are independent, and we keep this exclusiveness of being independent, so we don't have to justify no one anything. We have our supporters, we have our friends with whom we collaborate, and we design our program how we like. So beside that particular exhibition space, we have nice office, like co-working space, where we 7 people of Krak sit, meet occasionally, and we as an incubator, which things gonna be done next, what is shorter, what is midterm and long-term projects that we have to focus. We have in Bihac as well, so-called migrant crisis since few years, and this is also very, let's say, prominent issue that is very present in the local media and in regional media, and this problem is it's badly maintained by the state. As said, state almost doesn't exist here because of a lot of administrative and organizational problems of the state. So the citizens are somehow focused on themselves and the self-help they can provide and how they can solve certain issues around. So those, I just listed some of those main challenges of our local surrounding, social, political, cultural, and other. And I think we have to keep focus on those things in our close future.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest problems in Hungary is, and I think it's also true because for other nearby countries, because when I go to Slovakia or to Croatia or Serbia, everyone's saying that a lot of people wants to go to Western Europe and work there because of the money mainly, but also, you know, the political stability sometimes. And well, of course, this could be a big question here.
Definitely it is.
Yeah.
This definitely it is. This is happening. This is something very tangible, something that it's not fictional and it's not fake. This is really happening in a huge amount. We are losing citizens, neighbors on a daily basis, and this can be measured in schools, in kindergartens, in a university. I work at a university. My main occupation is at the university, and I know, so I'm there since 15 years, and I know how the number of newly inscribed students is decreasing from the season to season, and this is an issue. How can society, as Bosnian society, solve this issue? I mean, it is almost impossible. We are still kind of running or falling down in that hole, in that abyss, and we didn't reach the bottom yet, so we are still falling, and I don't know for how long we will fall, but this is going on, and we don't see any organized tool which could eventually stop this, and we are just doing our job with devotion to make Krak a better place for us and to somehow attract other, not only young people, but people of all different ages, from the toddlers to the older generation, and we are trying to do this. We are trying to involve them, to give them a platform of participation. There are many different and various activities.
Yes, but maybe this is a good way to stop people or let people stay here, to have a kind of these galleries, institutions, and spaces like Krak. So this could be one way.
I can surely say for one person that didn't left country because he started working with us here. So he was on his way after his diploma to move out. He had already plans what to do and where to go. And when we invited him to join us, he started and he stayed here. So he's with us still. That's good.
That's a good success.
Yes. One by one.
So we are still positive, right?
Of course, I mean, yes, we are not, I mean, it can sound selfish, but this is also safe haven for us. When we, after the work or when we are here all together, we are just having a great time, hanging out, doing new projects, thinking what can be done, how the things can be done. It can sound selfish, but this is a project that as a therapy for ourselves in very traumatized and very damaged society as Bosnia is.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you very much for your invitation and visiting us here in Krak.